Excellencies,
distinguished guests,
ladies and gentlemen,
good morning and welcome to the 2024 Conference on Indonesia-Japan Partnership.
my name is Ray,
My name is Jenny.
and we will be the Master of Ceremony for today.
Ladies and gentlemen, this conference is brought to you by Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia. FPCI, in its 10th year, have grown to become the largest grassroots foreign policy organization in Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and the Indo-Pacific, with over 100,000 people in our network.
Yes, and today's conference serves as a platform that brings together government officials, experts, and scholars from both Indonesia and Japan for open discussions about the future of Indonesia-Japan relations, especially in light of the new administrations for Indonesia under President Prabowo Subianto and Japan under Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba.
Ladies and gentlemen, this conference will feature two panel discussions. The first session is titled Partners for Peace and Stability, and the second is titled Partners for Co-Creation of Economy. Before we move forward, we would like to extend our warm welcome to our distinguished guests who have joined us today.
First, Her Excellency Diaroro Esti, Vice Minister of Trade of Indonesia. Thank you for joining us.
His Excellency Gerard Ho, the Permanent Representative of Singapore to ASEAN. Welcome, Ambassador.
Bapak Arifianto Sofiano, Director of East Asia at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia. We would also like to express our gratitude to all of our panelists who have joined us today, and of course to all participants who are joining us in person and tuning in virtually. Please give a big round of applause to all of us.
Ladies and gentlemen, to begin today's conference, let us invite the founder and chairman of FPCI, Dr. Dino Patijalal, to deliver his opening remarks. Pak Dino, you may have the floor.
Good morning to all of you, and my first thanks is to Deputy Minister of Trade, Diaroro Esti, for coming here today. And Roro, I promise I'm going to pay my tax. Simply, I don't do not in finance, but the reason being, ministers work for the people. And the moment I called Minister Roro about this event, immediately it's a yes. Yeah. I think that's what ministers and officials should do, to respond to people's requests and taxpayers' requests very happily, and that reflects the spirit and the service that we do for this country. So let's give her a big hand. And please tell all the other ministers that's also the spirit by which they should do their job. I want to recognize also the Singapore Ambassador to ASEAN. Thank you, Pak, for coming here. Former Ambassador of Indonesia to Japan, Pak Sumadi Broton Diningrat. Yes. Ambassador Iwan, who is a fellow of FCCI. Dr. Dewi Fortuna Anwar, who will be speaking today. Director General of JICA, Hayakawa Yuho. Thank you. Dr. Nobu Aizawa, he's from area, but really a promising Indonesian. Dr. Lili Yang Ing, she's here some days. And Professor Sutomo Kikuchi, also an Indonesian from Japan. I'm very delighted to welcome all of you to today's meeting. And this is special because at the end of the year, everyone's smiling coming here, knowing that we're going to have a nice holiday after. And also, this is just after the inauguration of the new government in Indonesia under the leadership of President Prabowo Subianto and Gibran Raka. This is a strong, comprehensive and strategic partnership that we have. Sorry, can I say hello to Ambassador Masafuni? Ambassador, thank you. Welcome back to Indonesia. So, we're celebrating the Indonesia-Japan Comprehensive Strategic Partnership as well in doing this conference. And it is indeed a strategic partnership because the government of President Prabowo has dedicated a target of 8% growth. This year, the target is not 8%. Obviously, the government is setting it somewhere between 5 to 5.5%. Right? Beef is going to go even higher. But if you look at what is the component of growth, there are 4 components, right? Because growth doesn't happen by itself. There's government spending, right? There is consumption. There's investment and exports. So if these 4 components go up dramatically, then we'll get to 5, 6, 7, and 8%. And Japan is particularly relevant on 2, which is trade and investment. Right? This is very strategic because I remember when I was a director at the Foreign Ministry, I was looking at our trade with Mexico, and I noticed that Indonesia's trade with Mexico is much lower than Malaysia's trade with Mexico. To the point that I had to ask the Malaysian, how did this happen? We are as far away from Mexico as possible. And then the answer is very simple, because Malaysia's trade with Mexico is related to investment, right? Investment. So the investment that exports to Mexico. So trade and investment is very much related. If you want to expand trade, definitely we have to look at more investments. And for Indonesia, Japan is a critical factor in trade and investment for our future growth. Japan's interest in Indonesia is obviously based on a number of things, geopolitical, geoeconomic. Indonesia is the largest market in Southeast Asia. Japan relies on Indonesia for its energy security and also for stability in Southeast Asia. But there is something very special about Japan relations with Indonesia, and that is the presence of the factor of trust, strategic trust, political trust, which is very high for Japan, and this has been proven by FPCI's annual survey across ASEAN. When we ask which countries do they trust most, the answer has been consistently Japan. Yeah. And as you know, trust is something not easy to come. It doesn't come overnight. It has to be tested time and again, and it has to be verified by different events, right? I remember one of the meetings that I still remember until now is the meeting between President Yudhoyono and Mr. Abe. He wasn't prime minister yet. He was an aspiring prime minister, but there were a lot of political issues that he had to explain at that time. And when President Yudhoyono went to Tokyo, Mr. Abe wanted to see him, and we arranged that meeting. And from that first meeting at the Hotel Imperial, immediately there was an understanding between the two, and that understanding became the seed of the trust between the two leaders. And this is important because several years later, when Abe became prime minister and he came to Indonesia, and he wanted to explain Japan's interest in expanding the defense posture, the first country he went to was Indonesia, and he had a meeting with President Yudhoyono, and immediately President Yudhoyono said, I understand you, because there was that trust about the issue which otherwise would be a sensitive issue. What is important about Japan's presence in Indonesia and Southeast Asia is that it is impactful, right? We see every day Japan's, we are riding on an MRT. I don't know how many of you ride on an MRT. That's a high quality Japanese project in Indonesia. We have the Patimban project, right? That is ongoing. That is going to be great for Indonesia's logistics network. There's waste to energy project in Legok, Nangka in West Java, and in my hometown there is geothermal project in West Sumatra in Muara Laboh. Right? And I myself, I was actually an advisor to Mitsubishi, some time ago, and I remember going to a Mitsubishi factory. And what struck me the most was that I went to the factory. The number of Japanese was only dozens. The rest were thousands of Indonesians. Thousands of Indonesians. The number of Japanese executives was very small. And they explained to me, this is the Japanese corporate policy. We try to grow the local network, the local labor, the local production capacity, and keeping the Japanese corporate executive to a minimum. So that sums up Japanese relations, Japanese presence in Indonesia. It's steady, it's substantive, right? It's very deep, covers a lot of issues, it's impactful, right? And Japan is dependable, and Japan has attested goodwill. I do think goodwill is a real force in international relations, and it's a real thing. When Japan looks at Southeast Asia, looks at Indonesia, there is a goodwill that is felt. There's no hidden agenda, right? And Japan also adheres to what is very important to Southeast Asia, which is non-interventionism, right? And again, if we ask what is most important to ASEAN countries, I think that would rank at the top of the list. For Indonesia also, we Indonesians have to learn how to deal with Japan, right? When I was in government, I dealt with Japan several times, and dealing with the Japanese is not easy. Japanese are tough. If you negotiate across them, they are very tough. Yeah, we have to get used to it, right? But once they reach an agreement, what do? They stick to it. Once they reach an agreement, they abide to it and they deliver from A to Z, right? So for Indonesians, we have to know also how to deal with the Japanese. They are tough negotiators, but they live up to their commitment, to their promise once an agreement is done. And also, I do find that Japanese tend to be loyal and long-time friends, right? Pak Sutomo, I've known him for a long time, right? When I began my career, right? We're still friends until now. Pak Masafumi, I was an admirer of your Instagram, and until now, you remain dedicated to friendship with Indonesia. I have a long friend, Shingo, who is now a director, I think, for Southeast Asia or something. I've known him for a long time. We used to do pencak silat together. Yutaka Imura-san, I've known him when I was in mid-career, and until now, we remain in touch. But I think there's something about Japanese and Indonesian personalities that they get on quite well together, and they become lifelong friends. So at this conference, just by way of closing, the big question is what next, right? What next? I think the Indo-Pacific, we will discuss this next. This is going to be a big thing for us. It's a key geopolitical doctrine for ASEAN. I don't know if I can call it that, but if anything geopolitical, then it is the latest one is the AOIP. And Indonesia is very much invested in AOIP, and that creates a strong alignment between Indonesia and Japan. JETP is also a big question next. Japan is a strong supporter of JETP. Japan is funding the operationalization of the JETP Secretariat, always present at every JETP meetings. I just checked just now with JETP officials. Japan is always there, right? And the big question now, with Trump becoming president in the United States, the big question, of course, is what will happen to the U.S. component of JETP funding, right? I don't have the answer to that, but we count on continued Japanese leadership as co-lead of the JETP. And we are going to face some storms and turbulence in this region, right? We just saw what happened in Syria, and the political map of the Middle East is changing. We don't know what Trump policies will be for Indo-Pacific. Even he has not announced it. Would it be Indo-Pacific free and open Indo-Pacific 2.0 or something else? We don't know, but definitely we should expect some degree of turbulence and certainly uncertainty in the Indo-Pacific region and in the world. And for Indonesia and Japan, the question is not so much what do we do bilaterally, because I think bilaterally our relationship is strong and resilient, but how can Indonesia and Japan work together to maintain a stable and peaceful Indo-Pacific where everybody can work together with less turbulence as we would expect for next year. I'll stop there. I wish you all very good discussions. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Dino, for the opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, next let us invite our distinguished guest, Her Excellency Diaroro Esti, Vice Minister of Trade of Indonesia, to deliver her keynote speech. Vice Minister, you may have the floor now.
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Shalom. Om Swastiastu, Om Namo Buddhaya. Salam kebajikan. Firstly, I'd like to convey my regards to Dr. Dino Patijalal, the founder of FPCI. Very happy to be here, and I'm always happy to be included in your events. This showcases an opportunity for me to also converse and also share thoughts and opinions regarding issues that are quite detrimental also in the fields of trade, in which President Prabowo has entrusted me with as his Vice Minister. Excellency Masafumi, former Ambassador of Japan to Indonesia, His Excellency Ambassador Gerard Ho, Permanent Representative of Singapore to ASEAN, and also Pak Sumadi is here as well with Ibu Dewi Fortuna, and Bapak Arifianto, Sofianto, and everybody else who I'm not able to announce one by one, but I'm very grateful to be here with all of you today. I'd like to firstly extend my appreciation for this event. I think Pak Dino has done an incredible job for the past 10 years. I just asked him, how many years has this been going on? And he said 10. And it's been remarkable being able to see so many issues being covered and being discussed by key players, whether it be coming from the government, from the CSOs, from influencers, from all parts of society. And I think this is detrimental in creating the changes that we want to see in Indonesia as well as the world. So being here for me is very important. Bapak Prabowo Subianto, as Pak Dino mentioned earlier, is very adamant and very focused in achieving the 8% growth by 2029. And you know, it was mentioned earlier with regards to one of the main components in realizing this which is that through exports. And the Ministry of Trade is currently focusing on three main things or topics. The first one being how we are able to safeguard our national, not only economy, but also our national trade. Secondly is how we can expand our international markets, and this can be done through international trade agreements. We have progressed quite significantly for the past 1.5 months or so. Firstly, with the Indonesia-Peru CIPA, which has been substantially concluded during the APEC summit, in which President Prabowo was there as well. And during the Heads of States Forum, this was officially announced during that time. As well as the Indonesia-Canada CIPA, substantially also concluded, and soon to be signed, hopefully by next year. This is a great progress, and I was also very involved in the working groups and monitoring how the discussions took place, and with the EU-Indonesia CIPA also being one of our focuses. And lastly is how we can then boost small medium enterprises or UMKM to go global or to be exported in different areas and different countries. And so one of the things that I kind of concluded during my first month, I know it's a very short time, but so much has happened ever since, is that the very essence of trade lies in the people-to-people relations. And this is very essential in all aspects. During my time as parliamentarian as well, I noticed how important this was, how bilateral meetings were the very foundation in which any kind of change is then projected and you know, went on about. And so this is very, very important. And as we look at the Indonesia and Japan, we see that there has been a long-standing relationship or friendship as well as a robust cooperation in various areas. And so since 2006, both countries have elevated their partnership to comprehensive strategic partnership, a testament of Indonesia and Japan's commitment for a stronger and mutually beneficial bilateral relations. This strong relations is also reflected in our bilateral trade. In 2023, Japan was Indonesia's third largest trade partner, both as export destination as well as import source country. Our exports to Japan have recorded at around 20.7 billion US dollars, while imports from Japan amounted to 16.5 billion US dollars, resulting in a 4.2 billion US dollars trade surplus for Indonesia. I'm confident that our bilateral trade will remain strong, investment flows will continue to expand, and emerging areas of collaboration will unlock even greater opportunities for success. I liked what Pak Dino highlighted earlier about the very importance of investment and how this could be a factor in which can then boost our economic development and our GDP growth, as well as how we can then harness the current situation in which Indonesia is in with our demographic dividend, where around 68% to 70% of our total population are of the productive age. So how we can really optimize on this, this is why Pak Prabowo Subianto is always talking about the very importance of human capital, whether it be through health, whether it be through education, whether it be through all these other elements, as well as the food program in which he initiated, with the hopes that we can, again, boost the kind of economic growth that we hope for. And of course, trade being one of the fundamental aspects in this regard as well. The implementation of the Indonesia-Japan Economic Partnership Agreement, or EJPA, in 2008 have provided an ideal framework to boost two-way trade and investment between the countries. IJPA is a momentous trade agreement for Indonesia, as it was our first bilateral FTA. Since 2015, both countries have discussed ways to improve the implementation of this to then strengthen the economic as well as trade potentials coming from both sides. And to this end, both countries have signed the protocol amending this on 8th of August 2024 to further expand market access and establish a more modern framework for economic cooperation. We believe that the implementation of protocol amending IJPA will further boost economic growth and welfare of both countries. The ratification process is currently underway, and both countries aim to enter or entry into force of the protocol in 2025. So this is one of our goals for the next year, for the coming year. Ladies and gentlemen, ASEAN and Japan have endorsed the Future Design and Action Plan for Innovative and Sustainable ASEAN-Japan Economic Co-Creation between the years of 2023 to 2033. Some action plans under this cross-sectoral economic cooperation framework includes one of which MSMEs, digitalization and initiative for the next generation automotive industry, in line with the Ministry of Trade's priority to expand market access and enhance MSMEs exports as well. And so the synergy between ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, also offers a robust platform to strengthen economic collaboration and cooperation between Indonesia as well as Japan. The ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific's vision of inclusivity and cooperation resonates deeply with RCEP's goal of bridging economic and technical differences among its diverse members. As Indonesia and Japan will be the co-chairs of RCEP in 2025, we look forward to working closely with Japan to then advance our shared goals of economic integration, inclusivity, as well as stability. And this lays an incredible momentum foundation for our bilateral relations to prosper and grow even better. And as I draw my remarks to a close, I would like to also take a moment and emphasize on Indonesia's significant progress in our journey towards the OECD membership. The effort represents a crucial step forward in realizing our vision for Indonesia Emas, or Golden Indonesia, by 2045. In March of 2024, we were privileged to become the first ASEAN nation to receive the roadmap for OECD accession. And this in itself is a milestone for our country and underscores our commitment to this endeavor as well. And we remain steadfast in our goal of achieving full accession by the year 2027. We recognize that this is a lengthy process, but we're grateful that we are in the right track in achieving this, and look forward to the collaborative efforts that lie ahead. And in this regard, the Ministry of Trade has been entrusted with the responsibility of leading the technical reviews of 4 essential committees. We're talking about the trade and export credits. We're talking about small and medium enterprises, SMEs. This is also one of our main kind of goals within this administration, as well as and entrepreneurship, competition, and consumer policy as well. And these initiatives reflect our commitment to adhering to OECD standards while also ensuring they resonate with our national priorities. With that being said, I wish you all a very valuable discussion. I'm sure that we are able to make the most of today, make the most of who you are able to meet, and see how these relationships also can foster and grow, and for that to then give you an idea of what portion you have in creating the changes that we need to see in Indonesia. I think the very essence of gotong royong is very essential, working collaboratively, side by side, together in achieving a particular target, because the Ministry of Trade, for example, by itself cannot work alone. We need to join hands like that of, for example, with Pak Dino with FPCI. We want to join hands with other CSOs. We want to join hands with government officials from other countries, including that of Japan, as well as the youth, as well as everybody that can create this kind of change and momentum going forward. Thank you very much. I wish you a very successful conference. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Minister. Vice Minister Diaroro, we kindly invite you to stay on stage. We would like to invite you for a photo session. For this, we invite Dr. Dino back on stage, together with our senior fellows, co-founder Professor Dewi Fortuna Anwar, Ambassador Sumadi Brotodiningrat, Ambassador Iwan Wiranata Atmaja, to go on stage for a photo session. Hey.
Okay, and to all the photographers, please stand by. One more time, different styles perhaps.
Thank you.
Okay, please give a big round of applause. You may return to your seats.